Active FM. Radio has never been better.
What is up?
Hey.
This is the movie show
On your favorite ORSPS.
Active FM.
And my name is Ryan.
My name is Sash.
And we have started the show normal for once in a long time.
Right.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, you want to go and look at our previous shows. You might find a movie there that is extremely interesting or that you wanted to watch or have watched and you want to find out facts on it. That's what we do here. Right, Sash?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, moving right along. So we are going to be discussing actually one of the most iconic films in film history. Legit. Like, this film, I cannot believe it took us this long to watch. Well, I suppose it makes sense. It's not like... Honestly, this film is not everyone's cup of tea. Like, it really is not. Like, you'll either like it. I don't know if you'll love it. I don't know. I don't know. Or you'll hate it. There's like no in between.
So, I loved the way that Quentin Tarantino directed. The lines, the conversation.
Can I say, Quentin Tarantino, I think, is the greatest dialogue writer of all time.
He's weird.
The dialogue that he writes in his films, it's unlike any other dialogue. Like, literally, he needs to win an award, a separate award, a dialogue award. Like, they need to just create that. It's not script writing. He's a brilliant script writer, but his dialogue. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, one thing I've noticed about Quentin Tarantino's scenes is he has long scenes. He actually breaks film rules, because what they tell you, if you read any script writing book out there, they'll tell you, make sure that your conversations are quick and concise. They mustn't drag. They mustn't be long. You're going to lose your audience. No one likes a long talking scene. They want action. They want it to, like, literally, if you read any script writing book, I literally remember reading that in a script writing book I did. And they'll tell you, make sure it doesn't drag on for long. Quentin Tarantino does not follow that rule.
I don't want to know what goes on in that guy's head. It must be so like...
I think I would.
Django!
Django!
Yeah, that one.
That was... That still could possibly be my favorite line from... And then he kills him and says, it's Django. Like, that sets up and you know how they set something up and then they concluded it a little bit later? Oh, that was so satisfying. Oh, it was so satisfying. I was just like... That was brilliant. But honestly, like, Quentin Tarantino will have this long scene. Long stretched out scene,
and you're entertained
and
through the whole conversation.
Full of dialogue. Yes, there's nothing. It's just two people. It's not even five people talking. It's two people talking. And for like 5 minutes, these two people are talking, and you are completely entertained the whole time. You are completely in it the whole time. You're like, how did they even get? It's brilliant.
And I don't know if you noticed, the whole film it's like a loop.
Yes,
like the beginning and the end tie right back together.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Again. And the whole movie, like. What is the point of the film?
That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
there's a whole lot of events that have nothing to do. It's just like stuff that just happened, okay?
It's like life.
Yeah.
Like watching a story about life. I feel like that is also another Quentin Tarantino thing. Like, you have movies where they make sure that it works out in a certain way. Because obviously people, they don't want reality when they're watching a film. They kind of want like... the good happy ending, or they want, like, do you understand what I'm saying?
But this film was so satisfying at the end.
It was satisfying.
You're like, wow.
I don't know why I'm satisfied, like, but I'm satisfied.
That is so good, because the end scene, I thought it was going to be another Reservoir Dogs again. I'm like, oh no, please no.
Where everyone dies.
Please no. But then I noticed the one guy, nobody's pointing a gun at him, and then I was just like... I was like, okay, wait, at least he'll be fine. Oh, wait, but then in the other thing, okay, never mind. And
okay, can we just say we are spoiling right now? We are not keeping quiet.
Well, it's such an old film. And besides, like, okay, just the only thing that I can say about this film is the language.
The language is... And
to be honest with you, for me, I would put this film at the top of my list if it wasn't for the language. So I wouldn't recommend anybody to watch this film.
So just to give you an idea, the F word is used 265 times
and there was
this film in 2 hours.
There was a profanity per minute count.
Was there?
Yeah.
What?
Now... The only reason why a Reservoir Dogs still topped this one...
Oh, no, Reservoir Dogs was hectic.
It was
shorter.
Because it was shorter, so there were more profanity words per minute.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I could watch this movie with...
Hasn't Quentin gotten better with that? Or is it... Look, Quentin speaks like that. I think that's also one of the reasons, is if you listen to an interview with him, the chances are somewhere along the line there's going to be a beep. So I think
If
that's...
anybody out there is going to make the software where you just run the import, select your file.
Select which swear word you don't want.
It's just
just pick that
just
one.
automatic, because you don't know what's there.
No, but like in some countries, some words are
age
like
restriction. That'll be cool. Anyway, and then you export, select the destination. If everybody's going to do that, and then you just let it run, and it runs very quickly. Available for Macintosh only, because it really needs the slick and smoothness. But anyway, because you want to watch the film, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to wait forever.
No, you don't want to wait forever.
This is not about my software, this show. But if anybody makes that software out there, this is a good film
to do it on.
To test it on. If it
actually,
passes this one.
You're good.
And by the way, I would happy to test your software out. You just Google Drive, just send me the link for your Google Drive. So if I ever get an email with someone saying, here it is, and then there's a Google Drive. And I know if it's Google Drive, right? Because it says googledrive.com. I would happy to watch that whole film again, and I'll be like at 3 minutes 41. The F word, the guy in the background swore.
The guy in the background.
You might want to just tweak your threshold there.
It was like that's one thing I wanted to look for. I didn't hear the Wilhelm scream in this one.
And the bleeps were a bit too long. You need to just shorten the bleeps. Because, when they swear, they say the F word, it's quite quick, So just...
or they could just silence it.
Guys are getting ideas out there.
Don't beep it. Just silence it.
Or you can choose bleep or silence.
Okay, that would be cool. Make
that
a function.
It might be bleep, or you can replace it with another word.
Ah!
You can even record yourself.
No.
Anyway, moving on. So I would have loved to show this film to a lot of people, but I'm just like, no, don't. Not going to show this film to nobody.
Okay, I personally, with this film, I loved the first and third act of the film. The second act,
What was the point of that act?
Okay, so basically what this film is, so just to give you a brief description, this film is actually 4 interconnected short stories told together. That's actually what there's 4, yeah. So there's the honey and pumpkin story, which it starts with.
Comes back.
Yes, honey and it was pumpkin and honey bunny. Yes.
Yeah.
So the 2 people that basically rob the restaurant, and they have a very short story, but their storyline splits up.
Which we have the return of Tim Roth again.
Yes.
I was like, Tim Roth.
And his English accent was cool, yeah. And also, I don't know if you remember when we did Bad Guys, the start of Bad Guys was paid homage to that scene. I was like, it's so cool. Yeah. This is the scene. Then there's the story where Vince is the protagonist, who's John Travolta. Can I just say, I loved John Travolta. He was my favorite character in the whole film. Samuel L. Jackson was also cool, and I loved that duo. It was like one of the best film duos. But I loved his character. However, do you know that he was actually considered as the antagonist of the film?
Really?
But we'll get back into that a little later. So you have his storyline. Then you have the storyline where Jules is the main character, where he has that whole... That was a miracle. I feel like I need to turn my life around. We have had divine intervention.
For me, he took the end.
Yeah, no.
So with the end, it was like, because he really, what he did, I was just like...
It was proper, yeah.
This is nice.
And then you have the whole Marcellus and Butch, which was... I didn't enjoy that short story personally. That was the short story that was just very disturbing. That was Bruce Willis and the main boss guy. So his storyline is basically he was supposed to throw a boxing game. He was bribed, and instead of throwing the game, he ended up killing his opponents and winning, and then wants to run off. But then his father, or there was a golden watch that was passed down from generation to generation, and
across World War and everything.
Yeah, everything. And that watch was, his girlfriend forgot to take it. And so he goes back to the apartments, and he actually runs into John Travolta there and then shoots him. I was just like, why? I liked him.
Let's think about this. In this movie with the whole loop, that section must have happened outside of the loop, if you think about it.
No, that actually happened at the end. So the movie actually, if you look at the movie in chronological order,
So after the end.
the movie ends with Bruce Willis and his
Yeah.
girlfriend driving away on the motorcycle,
Yes.
the chopper. And that's why the movie starts. I don't know if you heard, but in the beginning of the movie, when they bring up the definition of Pulp Fiction, the movie starts with the motorbike sound effects.
I didn't
And
even pick that up.
That's paying
crazy.
homage to that, yeah. So it actually starts. Where does it start? It starts when John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson go to get the briefcase. No, I'm lying. The chronological correct order starts with Butch as a young boy receiving the golden watch. You know,
Yeah.
there's that scene.
Yeah.
So that's because he was young there. Then it would go to Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta getting the briefcase. Then it would obviously go to... How was them shooting that Marvin guy out of the blue? Like, I was just like, they just shot a guy by accident.
I was happy that they let him live. And then that
By
happens.
mistake, skid.
He's like, hey man, did you...
Dude, you just shot him. It was an accident. It's like, okay.
That whole section there, I really enjoyed it.
And then when they go to Quentin Tarantino,
Yeah.
obviously his name
Yeah,
wasn't Quentin
I saw it now, I'm
Tarantino,
like-
but they go to his house and then the
Yeah.
wolf comes and that guy
The
was
wolf was
also
so
in
cool.
Reservoir. I love that moment. That
liked him.
section was
And
brilliant.
if you think about it, the way that they did, like the way they spoke about the wolf.
Yes.
If you think about his plan, it's actually so logical. It's just that he was the most calmest guy.
Yeah, he was
That's
like,
why he
okay.
just walked on. He's like, he
And
stayed
the way he
calm.
loved the coffee.
Yeah. Can I get some and you sit in there and
My favorite part
and-
was after Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta changed into the t-shirt and shorts,
Yeah.
and they're both just standing there like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I must say, I also loved when John Travolta took Mia out for supper. I loved that scene. That whole
Yeah.
scene. That even everything. I loved that. That was also really cool. And I must be honest, I did enjoy the overdose. I know that sounds really weird, but just the way
Yeah.
the overdose was done and the way they bring
And
her
again,
back.
an event that had it didn't really contribute. It was just
Well, it contributed to John Travolta's
in
storyline.
the life
So
of-
Vince's storyline, yeah.
I guess it gives you a bit more insight on the
Yeah.
character. That's basically it.
Yeah. So the story actually ends. So Samuel, where the film actually ends is obviously John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson leaving the restaurant. That's actually more mid-film, because after that what happens is Samuel L. Jackson goes off and becomes a better man, and then John Travolta obviously continues working for Marcellus, and then that's when Bruce Willis's character blows the whole bribe, and then they obviously go and wait for him at his house. Now I saw a video where you know how when Bruce Willis he sees the gun on the counter and then he hears the toilet being flushed and then picks up the gun and shoots. I thought that was Vince's gun, but apparently that was actually Marcellus's gun. You know, the boss, the main guy.
Ah.
And the reason he wasn't at the apartment was he had gone to get donuts and coffee. And that's why Butch runs into him driving away.
Walking.
So it's kind of just like this freak coincidence type of like scenario playing out. And then obviously, for me, the when they get captured and then
Sure.
that dude wants to that whole rape thing, just like I was just like, okay, wow.
I think it's just because that's like the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah,
to a
that
guy.
was just like,
And then obviously Bruce Willis's character
and
kind
I
of
so did not see that coming.
saved him out of that. Well, I went and I looked up the parental guide.
Oh, before.
Because the first thing I look for is if there's any nudity
Yeah.
and stuff like that, so I know exactly. And then I saw that part and I was like, okay,
Like-
coming up. Right.
See, I didn't know. I literally went into this blind. Like
Is it?
I was just like, so for me personally, I didn't enjoy the second act. For me, the Bruce and Butch, and Marcelo storyline was not my favorite. My favorite was the Vince and what was Samuel L. Jackson's
I
character?
have
Jules.
no clue.
Vince and Jules. I loved that duo, and I loved Vince and Mia. I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The opening sequence with Pumpkin and Honey Bunny was funny. I'll give it that. It was a cool concept, and I like how he tied up the beginning and the end with that scene where Samuel L. Jackson's like, are you still with me? You're fine, right? Keep calm. And she's just like standing there like freaking out. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
because
was
he handles even the way that he handles.
he's just calm, man.
It's just like everything just fits so nicely like a glove, you know.
So this is why they say. So do you know apparently that? So John Travolta, he's the antagonist in the film, and Butch is the protagonist in the film. And the reason they say that is so John Travolta's character represents fear and Butch's character represents courage. So if you look at John Travolta's character, he was very inward. He only did stuff for himself. So even when he took Mia out, his constant thing was, I'm not going to mess around with my boss's wife, but not because he was trying to be morally right, just because he didn't want to die. Because obviously the movie starts with him and Samuel L. Jackson talking about the fact that Marcellus threw a guy out of 4-story building just because he gave his wife a foot massage.
That's
so
right.
for him, he was like, I don't want to get thrown out of 4-story building type of thing. So he kind of was only being morally sound with her because he was protecting himself. And then also when he saves her from the overdose, it wasn't because he wanted to save her necessarily. It was because
He's gonna die.
He's gonna die if he
Yeah.
tells his boss, your wife OD'd while I took her out for dinner. Sorry, she found my heroin, and then, you know, being
Decided
a
to
cocaine addict, she's
sniff
not
it.
used to that.
Yeah.
And then so like that, he was always inward and self-focused, etc., etc. Whereas with Butch, he almost like, so the watch obviously was given to him as a family
his
like heirloom,
dad's.
and it represents courage because they fought through World War One. I mean, his dad even died. His dad actually didn't make it out. His friend came and gave him the watch.
and that was his father's.
Yes.
So it's a generation.
But then also, if you look at the end with Marcellus, he had the opportunity to run and leave Marcellus there, but instead he went and actually saved Marcellus,
Yeah.
and then so his courage
that was really
stuck.
good, quick thinking.
Yeah.
Because he like stood there and he's about to like blow the guy. He's like, wait, and then he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, now what?
Yeah.
This is the guy, you know.
Yeah. So
And he's like, are you okay? No, he said, what now?
yes, what now?
I tell you what now. No. It's like, okay, no.
What now with us?
What's up with that? No, what?
Basically, we're not enemies, but we're not friends.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see you again. And he's like, okay, I'll take that one.
Apparently, so there's obviously also the whole conspiracy of what was in the box, the briefcase. And some people say it was
Wonderfully
Marcellus's soul. And that's why he had the cuts. But this is just a fan theory. I don't think this is the real thing. But that's why he had the plaster on the back of
plaster,
his head.
yeah.
But then I read somewhere else that the plaster was there because when he shaved off his hair, he cut himself. And so, but I love that shot, that beginning shot of Bruce Willis. Like the one shot for like a good 2 minutes, and all you're seeing is the back of this dude's head with a big
And he's
plaster,
talking, yeah.
and Bruce Willis in like the foreground, and you're just like, not the
Yeah.
background, and you're just like,
'Cause-
Quentin is he insane?
'cause
He's actually just insane.
I knew it was just one of his weird things that he does. Because the only time when you really see Marcellus's face is when Butch, right? Butch, the
Yeah.
boxer, right?
Yes,
When them two come together.
Together, yeah.
And you know it's him. It's crazy. You never see his face, but you recognize
you
the
did also.
outfit.
You see him as well once with his wife Mia. Oh, when he's on the phone with Samuel L. Jackson, but that was after that happened.
Yeah.
You know when he's like,
Oh, yeah.
we thingy by mistake shot
Yeah.
someone. Now the car's full of blood and all of that.
Sending in the wolf. Oh, thank you. Oh, cool.
The wolf.
Yeah. But, I agree with you. What's his name?
John Travolta.
John Travolta.
He was my favorite character.
He was just so, like, he's just got this really, like, chill dude.
No, but do you
kinda-
know that his character is actually a heroin addict?
Really?
That's why he came across like that.
Sure.
And apparently, so John Travolta had never been on heroin, so he didn't know what it felt like. But apparently, Quentin Tarantino knew someone who was a recovering heroin addict, and so he got him and John Travolta in contact. And he said to John Travolta, the best way. Don't do this, guys. What I'm about to say, don't do it. But the best way to almost recreate how it feels to be on a heroin high is to basically get like super, super wasted on tequila and then to lie in a hot bath or hot pool. So that's literally John Travolta and his wife both got like, they literally lined up tequila like all over this hot, those hot pools. What is it called? A jacuzzi, basically.
Jacuzzi.
And then they got in the jacuzzi and just got like really wasted on tequila.
And then they laid there.
And they laid there. And that's how he,
because he
prepared
do-
for the role.
He does that like thing where you changing, but you're like fading between shots of him in the car, and he's just like
Yes.
driving.
I'm like,
And
dude,
the
you're
actual-
taking your boss's wife out and you're high.
And then like the close-up shot of the syringe with the so yeah, the way that was cut was...
I think one of my favorite moments is when he stabs Uma Thurman. Last week I couldn't remember the chick's name. Her name is Uma. Uma is still the weirdest name. Uma Thurman is her name. She's married to Ethan Hawke. Her daughter's Maya Hawke, who's Robin in Stranger Things, just in case you're wondering.
Is that the chick? Is that...
That's the chick, the one that OD'd.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still, she comes back. Quentin uses her.
And then he like drops her off. The way she
and
looks.
then she tells the joke.
Which,
What are the with the whole tomato joke?
Yeah.
Shame. You know that pilot episode that she explains that she's in?
Yeah.
Apparently that comes back in Kill Bill.
No
Like that.
way.
Yeah, that apparently
Wait,
comes back in...
that
I haven't watched Kill Bill,
That
so...
rings a bell.
But now get
Crazy.
this. So this movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes. So almost 3 hours. This is Quentin Tarantino's second film. Reservoir Dogs was only 1 hour and 39 minutes. So this one's basically almost double the amount of runtime that Reservoir Dogs was. But get this. The budget for Reservoir Dogs was $1.2 million US. The budget for this was only $8.5 million. Right? And $5 million of that went to the actors' their salary, because also Bruce Willis, when they added Bruce Willis on, that upped the cost of the film quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the box office for this film, so Reservoir Dogs made $2 million, right? So Quentin spent 1.2 and they brought in, it was actually closer to 3 million. It was 2.9 basically million. The budget for Pulp Fiction was 8.5 million. The box office for Pulp Fiction is $213.9 million US. So Quentin Tarantino's first film brought in $2.9 million, right? So almost $3 million. His second film brought in $213 million. That's how you know you made it, man. You're like...
That set him up for the rest of his career.
You're like super successful at this point. That's your second movie. I'm like...
Yeah.
Your second movie brings in... Yeah. So this movie cost $8 million to make. The initial budget was reported even lower until Bruce Willis was added to the cast, and $5 million went to pay the actors and actresses' salaries. The film was already profitable when its worldwide rights were sold for $11 million, again mainly on the strength of Willis's presence, and it went to make over $200 million at box office. So. Yes.
Did well.
And also, I think the reason why this film is so iconic, we're used to this nowadays, but this was the first time that the film's story wasn't presented in a linear structure. So a lot of people actually say that this film defies story structure. Story structure is Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. But it doesn't actually defy story structure, because if you look at each of the 4 different stories, they all have a setup, they all have a problem, they all have a climax, and they all have a resolution in all story. And the characters also have like story arcs and stuff like that. But the only difference is he hasn't told it in linear fashion. In other words, he didn't start at the beginning and finish at the end. Instead, he kind of started in the middle, then went back a bit, and then kind of jumped forward, and then came back.
Well, again, what was the problem?
In each story, there was a problem. So in Bruce Willis's one, he was trying to... Well, he'd taken a bribe, didn't follow through with the bribe, then was trying to get away, but then the gold watch was left behind.
And that was solved.
Then he went to get the gold watch, but then he bumped into his boss. Then him and his boss gets kidnapped by these gay rapist dudes. And then eventually they kill them and get away.
Saved his boss's life.
Vince's storyline is he is a heroin addict. He has to take his boss's wife out for dinner. Yeah. He does that, and then his partner leaves because he's had this miracle experience or spiritual experience, and then dies.
And he continues.
Jules's storyline is he's been a gangster. He's used the Bible to justify killing people, and then he's saved by divine intervention, which he kind of is, and then he sees that as a sign from God that he needs to leave this lifestyle and walk away.
Walk the earth.
His character is actually the one that has the most character arc, because his character changes. He leaves, and then the last story is the Honey Bunny and Pumpkin. They crazy. They want to rob this restaurant.
And they just walk out there.
And then they just walk. They do get money, I suppose, from Samuel L. Jackson.
Do you think that was his pay for doing the job that he did out of the wallet? Because it was a lot of money that he gave them.
I don't know if it was the briefcase one, because wouldn't they have gotten paid after delivering the briefcase?
That's also true.
And then there's the whole thing of the briefcase, because you never actually see what's in the briefcase.
He's still like, is that
gold? No. Is that Marcellus' soul? No. Yeah, so it's a weird film, but it's satisfying.
I think Quentin did the briefcase thing because it wasn't. I don't think he wanted to make it about.
No, it wasn't about the briefcase.
Yeah.
Well, there's a word in, I can't remember what it is. It's something with an M, but basically you get it in different films where there's an object that does affect the storyline, but it doesn't matter what the object is. You could change the object. So the briefcase, honestly, the briefcase could have been anything. You could have actually changed the briefcase. The briefcase
We
could
didn't
have
really
been.
care about the briefcase.
Yeah, it was. So it's there and it does push the story forward. It does push the story forward.
Whenever it rocks up, you're just like, oh yeah, the briefcase.
Yeah.
You're not even wondering, where's the briefcase? Wait, does he still have the briefcase?
Exactly.
Are they going to make it? Are they going to be able to? You actually don't care.
So it's an object that could be anything. It does drive the story forward because obviously, like the reason
closest it comes is when you know that they're in the diner. He's about to get his wallet from him. Then he gets his wallet, and you're like, he wants the briefcase.
He wants the briefcase.
Oh no, he's not going to let the briefcase go.
Yeah, that he can't let the briefcase go.
That becomes like a cause for what's about to happen next. Yeah.
So the 1964 Malibu convertible, driven by Vincent Vega, who's John Travolta, belonged to Quentin Tarantino, right? And it was stolen during production of the film.
Yeah, you know who you are if you took it.
No, but get this. So this film was brought out in 94, right? So this is like a long time ago. Then in 2013... That's like over almost 10 years later. No, over 10 years later. Yeah, like 20 years later, a police officer saw two kids stripping an older car. He arrested them, and while looking up the owner of the vehicle, he found the VIN. You know, each car has and he noticed that had been altered. It turned out that it was Tarantino's stolen car, and the owner had recently purchased it, but had no idea it was stolen. So they actually found the car like 20 years later. How crazy is that? It's like, wow, shame.
It's never too late.
So his car literally got, well, I suppose he did have like 200 million after that to, like buy a new car. But still, man, don't steal people's cars. What's wrong with you?
It's the same car that the poor dude lost his head. Oh,
yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. With the white interior.
Yes. Then Uma Thurman originally turned down the role of Maya Wallace, but Tarantino was so desperate to have her as Maya, he ended up reading her the script over the phone, finally convincing her to take the role. And I thoroughly enjoyed her. I think she did a very good job. I really enjoyed her. She was proper. And then Tarantino he actually wrote a lot of the characters for specific actors. So he wrote the character of Winston the Wolf specifically for Harvey Keitel. He wrote the role of Jules for Samuel L. Jackson. Someone else did audition for the role and almost got it, but then Samuel L. Jackson actually flew back and re-auditioned again just to make sure that he got that role. But a lot of the characters were actually written for specific people. Yeah. And then also Tarantino, so he obviously played, I love Tarantino's character, but he originally was going to play the drug dealer, but then he said he wanted to be behind the camera for the whole overdose scene where John Travolta stabs Uma Thurman and etc. So he then switched it and was the guy with the coffee that's wife was going to come back home.
How crazy was it the way that they filmed that scene? So they actually filmed it backwards.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, so they recorded him doing this. And then they
suppose he
played it back
he
for
couldn't
real.
stab her for real with like a...
And it's not like you could... Because I mean, if you actually watch it, they actually cut away. You only see him doing this. But at least you get... I mean, can you imagine full needle, everything at an actor? There's injuries that could...
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's her heart. Because he had to pierce her heart, wasn't it?
Yeah, through the breastbone. I mean, that's
why he had to use force, was because
can't you feel like at least where there's between the rib, like maybe
problem isn't your heart deeper?
Try and feel the part and try and move the bone in the right place. Okay, they're right there between the meat. The meat. But if you guys have had ribs, the meat part.
But it's not like your heart's on the edge. That's why he had to get through stuff
through bone. Can you imagine? That's crazy.
The fact that she survived was a miracle.
Yeah.
She really.
Do you think she woke up from the adrenaline, or do you think that was just because it's like, So I don't know if it's just
I think it was the adrenaline.
timing, or it was the adrenaline?
I think it was the adrenaline.
that
Because
they were
why else would
giving-
she have woken up?
But it like that
Because
quick.
pain wouldn't inflict.
That quick.
Yeah, in your heart, Ryan. Pump adrenaline in your heart. Let's see what happens to you.
I'm sure a lot of people would like painkiller like that. You know? It's like a
Hey.
Panado. Okay.
No, I think people would die. I think if you're not having an overdose, don't do it because I think you will kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like the only reason.
What are you doing? Just taking a painkiller. Eh?
Well, you won't have pain because you'll
Yeah.
be dead.
Anyway, please, guys, keep your medical book. You know the one you were supposed to get?
Yes, and then they're
Whether
looking for
how
the
much
medical
to
bill.
give. But then they were just like, all right, fine. Let's just
And they're all like panicking and freaking.
Yeah,
Everybody, the way
yeah.
that John Travolta crashes the car.
Even the way he
into-
handles it, like on the lawn, he's like,
Yes.
hey, you gave me the drugs, do you? And he like just drops it.
No, now help me.
And then like, so we-
Yeah, shame. Bruce Willis worked on the film for only 18 days. And I mean, he was like the whole second act.
Mm.
And it was a 2-hour and 45-minute film. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Was this before or after Die Hard? I'm sure it was after.
I
Because
actually
from
don't
the
know.
sounds of it, his name was already.
Yeah.
He
Apparently,
done
he
quite a
had
good-
been in a lot of films. A lot of them had flopped, but he did have a name for himself. So I don't know if it was.
Bruce Willis.
He was very young, yeah, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was 1994. It was, yeah. And then Jules flipping, so Samuel L. Jackson flipping the table over in the beginning was improvised. And Frank Wally's reaction, who was the guy that they were speaking to, his reaction was genuine to him flipping the table over. But they continued the scene, and that particular shot was actually put in. Oh, sorry, it was done in one take. That's also what Quentin does. He's one
Yeah.
like they'll literally be walking up to an elevator and
But that's what they did. It was that whole follow up. Yeah, it was like them walking up and they're finding the room, then they walk that
then
side.
yes, they wait.
they
Like,
come
is the
back
time
again.
yet? No, we're early. Oh, okay, we'll just go stand over there. Like, they were so calm.
Because there's an estimated time of arrival. They're like, no, we need to give them time to settle down, settle back, you know? Yeah.
Also, this was one of the first movies to use the internet for advertising. I feel like Quentin Tarantino has a gift when it comes to advertising for his film because he always did something that like other people do after that. So like with Reservoir Dogs, it was the individual character posters. Now this one was internet advertising. Like, it's insane. But do you know that Quentin Tarantino actually has created a subgenre within the crime the crime genre?
Yeah.
He's created a sub-genre where people now try and make films that are like his Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, that they're both crime drama films. He's literally created, he's so successful as a film director, he created a sub-genre.
I think this is more like crime com.
Crime com. It is a crime com.
Comedy crime.
But at the same time, it's still a drama if you think about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, shame. But it was actually, yeah. And then also, this was, I think, my favorite scene. Was it my favorite scene in the first act? My favorite scene was the dance. That whole sequence was so weird but so cool. But she was Uma Thurman was apparently reportedly nervous during that dancing scene with John Travolta, because he was already famous for dancing, because he'd done I think it was
Grease.
Saturday Night Fever.
Oh yes,
and Grease.
Saturday Night Fever.
So, like, John Travolta was famous for dancing,
Yeah.
and apparently he told her to shut up and twist when she mentioned it to him.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But also their facial expressions, like, they were so serious. Like, it didn't even look like they were having fun, but they
that's
were
what
like...
I was also I'm just like, this was the thing, huh?
Twisting
Yeah.
was a cool dance, though.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see that anymore because
No.
it's not like... But it was a
Well,
cool...
unless you go to like your uncle or aunt's,
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
and,
shame.
and if the right music comes up as well.
And then, yeah. I didn't pick this up, but apparently in the opening sequence with Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, Jules can be heard talking about quitting the life, so Samuel L. Jackson, and Vincent can be seen entering the bathroom. I didn't
Serious?
pick it up, but I actually...
But we weren't looking
Yeah,
for it.
you weren't looking for
That's
it.
probably
Suppose
why.
if you watched it a second time, you'd be like, oh my goodness, there they are.
There they are.
I see them.
Well, like you said with the motorbike,
Yes.
you hear the
You
motorbike.
hear the motorbike, yeah. And then also something bad happened every time Vince goes to the bathroom. So the first time he goes to the bathroom, Mia overdoses. The second time he goes to the bathroom is when Pumpkin and Honey Bunny are robbing the restaurant. And the third time, Butch shoots him when he comes out. Yeah. So shame. His character just...
Hold it in, rather.
Yeah. And then also the song playing during the dance scene, apparently Quentin Tarantino's mom would listen to that song repeatedly when she was pregnant with him. Cool, right? So that was, yeah.
Psychologically imported or installed.
Yes, it was. And then this I was actually interested by. So, Samuel L. Jackson quotes Ezekiel 25 verse 17.
Yeah.
And then he says, the path of the righteous man is beset on that. And then I will strike down thee upon with great vengeance. Like he does. Now, that actually is not Ezekiel 25:17. Right. So Ezekiel 25:17 says, and I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I'm the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. Apparently, though, that was, so they did take some of it, but then also Quentin Tarantino actually added to the verse. So he's not actually correctly quoting Ezekiel 25:17 when he...
So he probably just wanted a bit more lengthier.
Yeah.
Just so that he can...
And obviously he uses it as a right to kill, but then by the end of the movie you see him actually now use it as a reason not to kill. Yeah.
So he's trying to be the shepherd.
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard to be the shepherd.
The weird part is, if you look at the storyline as a whole, it was not satisfying. It was not a satisfying story. It's actually quite a disturbing story.
If someone were to tell you what the film was about, I think this is where the whole experience versus, this movie is also an experience. You got to, because like the conversations there and the stuff that they talk about, you're just like, why are you guys talking
McDonald's
about this right now?
Do you know what they call a Big Mac in France?
Yeah, what
what is it? Something Royale.
Yeah, a Royale with
cheese Royale.
Cheese.
Cheese Royale.
Yeah.
Like literally they're talking about that.
And he's even in the background, he's like, right? He's like, and he's like rolling it. Like, it's just, like, it's so, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good.
It was good. For me, honestly, when I was watching it and it got to I loved the Butch storyline. Was not my favorites. I loved the John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman. Those scenes I loved. I loved those scenes. I really, really enjoyed those scenes. For me, the second act, I get why he put it in, and I suppose it did add to the storyline, but I'm really glad that he didn't end the movie with Butch riding away. I'm really glad that he went back in time, and because even though John Travolta dies, you kind of don't feel the death as much because he comes back again, if you understand what I'm saying.
I guess it's kind of like what happened to John Travolta. Now he got shot in the future by a guy.
Yeah.
What guy? And now you have
like,
to
oh,
no, this
Butch
was the boxer guy. What happened? His girlfriend, no. And this is what happened, and this is where he is, and this is how he reacts. And shame, poor guy, he's just trying to live a life. And then
also remember, John Travolta's character is the brother of the maniac psychopath that was in Reservoir Dogs.
That's it.
They're brothers.
They are connected.
He's a way better. I like John Travolta. That he was the better brother. He really was.
So yeah.
That was Pulp Fiction. I honestly didn't expect what I watched was not what I expected.
Did you ever Google the meaning behind the name?
I saw in the beginning they gave that definition.
Yeah. The first one obviously wasn't valid. It was just like, what? A
pulp. Oh, isn't it fruit or... Isn't pulp?
Yeah.
We could just...
And then the second one, which I was like, wait, what? I don't know if it was late or... But for me, it was... Wow. There's a rock band called Pulp, by the way.
Pulp.
Did you know that?
So Pulp Fiction refers to a genre of racy action-based stories published in cheaply printed magazines from around the 1900s to the 1950s, mostly in the United States. Pulp Fiction gets its name from the paper it was written on.
Cinnamons. Trashy. Cheap. Sensational. Lurid. Tasteless.
So I suppose that actually makes sense
Tacky.
because it was 4 different short stories
Rubbishy.
combined, and if they saying it was short stories printed cheaply, so I suppose it does
Kinda
make
is.
sense. There's not what the name gives off, but makes sense. Yeah.
So you heard it all, folks.
Right here. Yeah. With great vengeance and furious anger. No, I'm joking. And now we will not shoot you. We will sign out and be like what? Samuel L. Jackson and go and be the shepherd,
Say what? Say what again? I dare you. Say what again?
And then he said, did he say what again? He did. Yeah. He did say what again.
Does he look like a... What? And then he does and then.
I like that he shot the guy on the couch. I'm sorry, did I break your concentration?
No. The best for me was, can I have a sip of your beverage to
wash
rinse down the
then like drinks it all the way.
The reaction to even the burger is like,
No, Samuel L. Jackson's character was a vibe. Like he was a whole vibe in this film.
He takes the seriousness out of the situation.
That's the thing with Samuel L. Jackson and with John Travolta. When they kill people, you don't not like them. That's even why they made the guy get shot as an accident.
Was it Reggie?
No, who?
What
Marvin.
is the guy at the back? Marvin. Hey, Marvin, did you?
But apparently he was supposed to be shot in the neck and then die slowly, and then they were going to shoot him.
Yeah.
But then the guy that acted as Marvin, actually said to Quentin that if you do that, the audience isn't going to like the two of them.
Yeah.
So rather make it a mistake. That was the last thing I was expecting. Was for him to turn around and shoot him.
They're like, hey, come on. And then he had to run around. I'm like, okay, let him live. Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
I was glad he died because it led to the scene at Quentin Tarantino's house, and that scene was amazing.
True. That's true.
This movie is weird. It makes you feel things as a viewer that you don't normally feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember, 3 or 4 films ago, I spoke about how that I get a feeling of the film. I feel this film, I went to bed. I literally wanted to go and take another bath. I just felt so dirty. And
for me, the second act made me feel like that. The first and third act was better.
But I think it was just because of all the language and then the drugs and then the business and all of that. But I don't know. But even and most probably you'll probably look at even the way that the color grading and probably shot on film as well. So it's got that realistic grainy type of But yeah. Just a bit of the language, man. Can someone make up that program? Because
it would really help.
Yeah.
Really, really help.
Take a soap with you.
Call it soap.
Then you're looking more like Fight Club.
True.
But anyway.
Yeah. This has been the movie show.
On Active FM.
Until next week.
Cheerio.